According to an article in the Lafayette Advertiser on January 27, 1912, a woman named Eliza Richards was held in police custody concerning the various murders committed. Investigators believed that Richards knew more about the murders than what she was letting on. However, Richards refused to discuss the case and the charges against her. It was also reported that she pleaded ignorance when questioned about the crime. This article also alleged that 2 African American preachers were being held in a Lafayette jail in connection with the murders. It was alleged that they were members of the new religious sect Sacrifice Church. On February 20th, 1912, a neighbor discovered the bodies of 30-year-old Hattie Dove and her children, aged 14, 16, and 18. The 18-year-old slain daughter was separated from her husband and stayed with her mother. Again, the murder weapon was an axe left near the bodies. It is interesting to note that at this crime scene, the murderer left a cloth near the axe, which he used to wipe his bloody hands on. The axe found near the bodies also belonged to an African American man who lived approximately 2 blocks from the murder site. It was later discovered that his stolen axe had been replaced with another axe. At this point, the African American community was terrified. Many fervently begged God to be spared from these brutal visitations, while others believed the Lord had abandoned them. And others felt that a curse was brought upon their race. On February 26th, Sheriff Fontenot received a letter from a man in St. Martinville, Louisiana. The identity of this person was kept a secret. He claimed to have information regarding the axe murders. The anonymous tipster stated that he was fearful that he would be claimed as a next victim with this information and insisted that he had no involvement in any of the murders. He was willing to give investigators this information in self-defense. The letter further explained that he believed the murders were committed by a clique of religious fanatics and had nothing to fear when the guilty parties were caught. According to an article from the Lafayette Advertiser, which was reprinted from the New Orleans item by reporter R.H. Broussard on April 2, 1912, Clementine Barnabet made a confession to investigators and others declaring she committed the murders in Lafayette and Crowley. It was reported she gave the following account, which I edited for clarity. My name is Clementine Barnabet. I was born and partly raised near St. Martinville and moved to Lafayette about 3 years ago when I began to lead a life of degradation. While in the company of 2 other women and 2 men in New Iberia, we met an old man who told us that he could sell us canjas, or voodoo charms, with which we could do as we pleased. We would never be detected and would be protected from the hands of the law by the mere fact of these canjas being in our possession. We bought them and paid $3 each and left New Iberia the same night, returning to Lafayette. When we began to plan our actions, we had not yet decided on committing any murders, but while discussing our plans, the question arose about whether we could kill and be protected by the hoodoos. One gang member was instructed to go to New Iberia and interview the hoodoo man, who said we were safe in any actions we might do. Our lives will always be fully protected by the power of hoodoos. Clementine recollected that in the fall of 1910, she and her accomplices went to Rayne, Louisiana, and drew lots to determine who would first attempt the hoodoos in committing murders. She said the lot fell on her, so she got to work that night. Her sister lived in Rayne, near the OG Railroad Depot, and later during the night, disguised as a man, made her way to town. Barnabet claimed she found an axe in the yard near the cabin where she killed a mother and her 3 children. When asked how she gained access inside the house, Clementine stated that the light was burning, so she could easily see inside. She saw the mother sleeping in bed and started in motion the plan that the gang had planned. Barnabet admitted to striking the mother on the right temple upon entering the home, instantly killing her. One of the children began to awake from the noise, but she claimed she struck the child near his left ear before his head could fully rise from the pillow. Then she asked the other 2 children in the home. Clementine stated that she changed to the mother's clothes before returning to her sister's house and boarding a train back to Lafayette. She claimed to have arrived in Lafayette around midnight, with the murders occurring around 9. Once she returned to Lafayette, she supposedly told her deeds to the gang, and they watched the development of the case with great interest, as it appeared that the murderer went undetected. The gang surmised that the hoodoos worked, and they were safe. Then Clementine recalled the murder from Crowley, alleging that she carried out the murders with one woman who entered the home and another member who kept watch. She claimed that she struck the man first with the axe, which woke up the woman, and struck her twice to ensure she was dead. After the adults were murdered, Clementine stated that it was easy to murder the 2 small children. It was reported that Clementine said, "We thought it was better to kill them than to leave orphans, as they would suffer." She continued her confession detailing the 3rd murder. The group decided to meet and lay out their plans in a refinery the night before an election because they knew the police would be busy with politics. They weren't sure who their victim or victims would be that night until they reached a railroad crossing where they saw a cabin with a light burning. Barnabet claimed that she and another woman entered the home, where she struck the man whom she named Timmy, and then his wife. After killing the parents, she then murdered the 2 children. At first, the baby in the cradle was overlooked until it started crying. She stated that's when she killed the baby. Barnabet further stated, "We took the man and woman and placed them in a kneeling position and left the house. I was near the house the following day when Timmy's brother came to the house and called them, and not getting any answer, he looked through the window and saw them dead. He began to cry, and I was one of the first to go to him and ask him what had happened. He told me, and I went to notify their parents, who lived nearby. I helped to wash them and prepare them for burial." Then Clementine was asked about the 4th and final murder. She claimed it was a Sunday night when she and her gang went out for a frolic and attended a meeting of the God Sacrifice Church. When they left the meeting, they found an axe and brought a bundle of old clothes. Once they were sure they were alone in the street, they crawled to the house and entered through the back before killing everyone living there. She further detailed, "Once we had killed them, I took a pistol, which I had hidden under my dress, and I shot at Norbert Randall, the man I had killed. I struck him somewhere in the breast or body. I got the pistol from my brother's house during the afternoon and returned it the same night, so as not to be seen with it should the officers catch me. After this, we went uptown to talk the matter over. I returned home about 2 o'clock in the morning and went to bed, where I stayed until I awakened by the man I worked for the next morning at about 5. I worked around the house until Mr. Peck arrested me at about 10 in the morning." Within this hearing, she confirmed that she and her accomplices agreed they would not tell on each other, but she wanted to confess her part in the murders to clear her conscience. As a recap to her confession, Clementine Barnabet indicated to investigators that she murdered 17 people and was responsible for another 35 between 1911 and 1912. She also stated that even while she was in jail, she was responsible for the 3 murders that happened in January. In her confession, Clementine confirmed the rumors of voodoo playing a part in her slayings, as she obtained a charm meant to protect her in her pursuit of killing. During this confession, she also revealed the existence of the Church of Sacrifice to investigators, and claimed that she was a voodoo priestess. Barnabet admitted to having accomplices. Often they would draw lots to determine who would commit the murders. She would reveal the names of her accomplices, however, they were dead leads for investigators. Furthermore, she would confess to killing the children in the families to prevent them from becoming orphans. Unfortunately, no one knows if this was the true motive for killing the children. Despite her admission, there were many holes in her story. Her credibility was damaged by her testimony against her father. The validity of her story weakened further when the claims against her accomplices were dead ends. While arrests were made, investigators could not make a link between any person and the so-called Human Five. On April 9th, the grand jury found 6 bills against Clementine Barnabet. District Attorney Brunner delayed her arraignment by a week in hopes that her accomplices would be caught and more evidence would be found. District Attorney Howard E. Brunner believed that some crimes were likely copycat crimes. Even so, he thought Clementine was morally depraved and justly guilty of all she had confessed. While awaiting arraignment, investigators arrested a half-sister of Clementine's named Pauline, who lived in Rain. Her movements were believed to be suspicious, according to police. During questioning, Pauline claimed to have little knowledge about Clementine. Sheriff Lacoste arrested another woman named Valina Mabry on a plantation near town. When presented in front of Clementine, she stated Valina was the Irene that helped her in the murders. Valina vehemently denied any involvement. Unfortunately, all of the information presented led to public confusion. Did the Church of Sacrifice exist? Was voodoo really involved? The people of Lafayette believed wholeheartedly that all the murders were voodoo practices, or voodoo sacrifices. Clementine further cemented this accusation by naming Joseph Thibodeau as the person who gave her the invisibility charm and alleged he was the one who instilled the ideas of crime in her mind. Thibodeau denied these accusations. While Clementine was in jail awaiting her sentence, another murder occurred in San Antonio, Texas. On April 13, 1912, William Burton, his wife, 2 children, and Leon Evers were discovered dead. The men appeared to have been murdered by an axe while having butcher knives thrust into their bodies. The children seemed to have been killed by the blow of an axe. Every detail of this murder left little doubt in authorities' minds that this act was carried out by the same Church of Sacrifice fanatics or a copycat killer. But because there were 5 victims, this further strengthened the claim of the Human Five. The only detail that points to a copycat killer is the distance. However, investigators point out that there had been sufficient time between the killings for the murderers to move that far. The article further states that William Burton was a hard-working man with a good reputation. He was not known to be the type to become involved in fanatics. No one thought he could have any enemies, so it seems the Burton family was just randomly selected for nothing more than the desire to kill. As she sat in jail, Clementine confessed to more and more murders, up to 35. However, her story changed with each instance, and her attorneys claimed insanity and stated that her confessions were unreliable. Clementine underwent numerous examinations after admission to determine whether she was sane and mentally fit for trial. Other key moments in this case to which Clementine alleged some of the victims were church members. Members of the alleged cult were inspired by the Old Testament sacrifices. Clementine also admitted to fondling some of the bodies, regardless of their gender. These are just supposed confessions made by Clementine. It is unclear how true any of these allegations are, as this case and the murders she claimed to be a part of are shrouded in mystery. In October 1912, at 19 years old, Clementine was sentenced to life in prison and was sent to Angola State Penitentiary for the severity of her crimes. Angola has a sinister reputation, so it is not a place you want to find yourself. I cannot imagine being a 19-year-old locked up in this place. The maximum security prison farm, yes, it is a farm where inmates produce and sell wheat, corn, soybeans, cotton, and Milo, and have livestock and flight birds. Nowadays, it is actually called Louisiana State Penitentiary. It is more commonly known as Angola after the slave plantation initially occupied this territory. Other nicknames that this prison has include Angola Plantation, the Farm, and the Alcatraz of the South. It is currently the largest maximum security prison in the United States, which also gives it the nickname a gated community. However, this place is known for its brutality, riots, escapes, and murders. On July 13, 1913, Clementine tried to escape Angola. Some reports state she was captured the same day, while others state she was captured the next day. After her first and only escape attempt, she became a model prisoner. By 1918, she became a cane cutter for the prison farm. There is a vague document which states that while Clementine was in prison, she received some sort of procedure. It is unknown what operation she was given, but it is suspected that a lobotomy was unlikely. However, the document states that she was restored to normal condition. Even though she was given a life sentence, Clementine was released in 1923 for good behavior. After her release, her whereabouts were unknown. But 6 years after her release and disappearance, murders started to occur in New Orleans, eerily similar to the murders Clementine confessed to. Investigators believed Clementine had a hand in these 6 killings, but could not locate her. However, the main difference between these serial killers was that the Axemen of New Orleans targeted Italians. The identity of the Axemen of New Orleans still remains a mystery today. I also found an account about a woman living in Louisiana who visited her 103-year-old grandmother in 1985 to tell her about the story of Clementine Barnabet. After the grandmother passed away, the granddaughter found youthful pictures of her grandmother from a newspaper clipping, who allegedly had an uncanny resemblance to Clementine Barnabet. And that is the story of the Voodoo murders and Clementine Barnabet. If there's anything that I missed in my research, please comment and let me know. Also, what are your thoughts on this case? Do you think Clementine Barnabet was responsible for these murders? Do you believe there was a cult called the Church of Sacrifice? I'm not even sure what my stance is on this case, to be honest. Thank you for listening, everyone. If there is a case you would like me to cover, please reach out. I would love to hear your thoughts and recommendations. Stay safe, and I will see you for my next episode. Bye.